Well, hello everybody, this is a Stihl MS210C chainsaw that won't start. I've got a quick story behind this, so bear with me. This was my late father-in-law's saw. He loved this thing. And since his passing, it's just been hanging on the wall in the tool shed. Yesterday, my mother-in-law and her neighbor got this out to do some pruning down the tree lines, and he couldn't get it to start. In the process, the oil cap for the barn chain oil, this was already fatigued. Part of it's missing. No big deal. I'm going to try to fix that, or I can get a new one. I get a call from my wife on speaker in the car with the mother-in-law in the car yesterday, and they're kind of talking about this. And my mother-in-law was actually going to throw this in the trash. And I was like, no, bring it home. So we're going to try to take this apart. We're going to really take it apart, get it all cleaned up, and give it a new life and see if we can get it to run. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and start with the cap. This is the broken one. I wanted to show you guys that particular piece and what I'm missing in terms of part of it and how it's shaped. I've got to get this O-ring off here first. This is the gas cap. So if you take the O-ring off, you can push down on this and then slide this piece out. It's keyed in there. I said that. I've had it out once. There it comes. Okay, this has got a little thrust washer underneath it, but do you see how this is shaped? I only have the little horseshoe part on the bottom. And I thought about making one of these, but I don't really have a good way to make this T-slot that's in here that fits over this key. So what I've decided to do, or at least attempt, I can't make anything worse, just get rid of that piece altogether, put this piece on there like it's supposed to be. I'm going to take a piece of Delrin and I'm going to turn a disc to put right here, and I've selected the smallest screw I could find in my things, and this is the injection molded part, so it's right in the center anyway, and this appears that it's all solid plastic to about right here. So I've got no problem drilling a hole in here, putting that washer on, and then fasten it with that screw. That's what I'm going to try. Of course, I can buy one of these, but if I can fix this, I might as well. Alright guys, well there's my little Delrin washer. I put a pretty heavy chamfer on the end so it would clear the lever here. I should have put a little shoulder on the inside, but I didn't know how deep to put things, so I am going to use a little washer underneath it like a spacer. Let's get this thing put together. I'm also using this little horseshoe piece to keep everything concentric. So you can see how that's going to go there. I know the horseshoe would have come in from this side, so this goes this direction. Like that. Get my little washer on here. My new top piece. And the screw. Get this tightened up and we'll check it out. Feels good. Seems to work like it's supposed to. It's actually pretty neat. Once you put it down in the hole and you go to lock it, there's a cam in here that pushes everything over, and you'll see this O-ring expand. See how that expands? It's pretty cool. That's why I needed to add the spacer, because it was moving it and it was popping the O-ring off. Let's see if it fits. Alright, moment of truth. Feels good. I believe we got that part. Now I can at least try to see if it will start over here. I couldn't turn it up because all the oil would just run out. Let's see what it's doing. Alright, well, let's see if it'll do anything. I don't see a primer bulb on it. Let's see, go full choke. See if anything happens. That's a no-go. Let's get the fuel out of it and see what it looks like. Alright, well, I do not know the state of the fuel. If it's a mix or if someone has put in non-mixed gas, but we're going to suck it out of here and see if there's any water in it and move on. Alright, it's definitely an oil mix. I'm going to wait, like I said, to see if it's got any water in it. Get this cover off here and look at the air cleaner. It's pretty dirty. That may have something to do with it. Alright, well, I've got the plug pulled out of it, grounded to the block, so let's see if we get spark here. I'll try not to move it. Yeah, we definitely have spark. Alright, let's do a compression test on it and see where we're at here. This is wide open throttle. We're cresting up to 120 pounds. Wow. Alright, well, I'm going after the carburetor. I'm pretty sure I can get this piece of linkage out of here beforehand. Yep. That just goes down in there. It's just got two bolts right here. Nuts, rather. I'm not sure exactly where the fuel lines are. I can't really see them at the moment. Just kind of winging it. There's one. My objective at this point is just to simply get it running. If I decide I need any parts or anything, I want to get them on the way while I'm cleaning everything up. Okay. No gasket there that I can tell. Well, there might be one. Let's see here. The throttle is hooked in there. I may have to open this handle. There's the fuel line right there, tucked under the bottom. That may have to come off first. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to open this handle up. Alright, well, I stuck it back together because I was on pause and I thought I was recording. I put the handle back on. I don't believe, yeah, if I pull the trigger I can gain access to this linkage. Whether or not I can pop it out of here is anyone else's guess. Let's try this. Yep, there we go. Fuel line. And I have to get this choke / kill out of the way because it will not clear. The carburetor won't clear that. So I'll pop it up on this side and start twisting it out. There we go, that's that. Now we should be able to just pull the carburetor off. Get that out of the way. Oh, just barely. Okay. I'd clean the outside off in the sink. Let's get to the bench and take a peek at this. Alright, well, I'm on the bench. I just rinsed this underwater like I'd said and just blew it off with my air, but I blew in this port where the fuel goes in, and I'm not sure about this type of carburetor, but I didn't have an open passage, it seemed like, so I'm going to take this side off right here and just take a peek, see what's going on. I'm also not sure if the muffler in this thing has it's either a flame arrestor or a spark arrestor. I don't remember what is called. Alright, well, now that I've got it opened up this far, let me at least make sure this port is open. Yeah, it's open. No big deal there. Might as well pop this side off and see what we're looking at. It's really clean on the inside. I carefully try to get this diaphragm off here. It's got fuel in it a little bit. I need to get a light and kind of inspect this jet and make sure everything looks good here. Alright guys, this is just super clean. I don't see anything wrong with it at all. So I'm just going to go back together with it. There we go. These carburetors are kind of hard to deal with. Everything's really small. I did pull the needle out. I didn't see any issues there either. Super clean. I think we're probably dealing with a separate or a different issue. I'm going to attack the muffler here next. I believe that goes this way. So I'll get these remaining bolts in here and we'll move on to something else. Alright, well, I went ahead and pulled the muffler. It doesn't seem to have an arrestor in it. I'm pretty sure it would be a fine mesh screen right here. Alright guys, I looked up a parts diagram online and it definitely does have a screen. It was underneath this cover. I didn't realize this snapped off. The screen, it's a little dirty, but it's not really plugged. So I see no issue with it. Alright guys, well, I've pulled the tank vent. There's nothing wrong with this. It's super clean. I suck on this end. I can hear the air moving. I blow on. It checks so the air doesn't come back out. Alright guys, here's where I'm at. I went ahead and put it back together a little bit ago. I pulled it and it fired right up. So I took it outside. I put some gas in it. I pulled it. It started and then it died. So then I kept pulling it and I flooded it. So I've drained the gas out of it. I'm going to go ahead and pull it and see if it starts. I'm not going to run it because I'm in my shop, just to let you know that it does in fact start. Alright, well, in typical fashion, it got dark on me again. I just put some fuel in it. Let's see, that's full choke. I'm going to try warm start. right there and just see what happens here. Let's go full choke, one pull. Go to warm start. Go back to warm start. Well, alright guys, it's clearly going to run. I'm not quite clear on exactly what the problem was at this point, but I'll take it. It's obvious that I've totally dismantled it. I was going to film that, but I really didn't know how things came apart, and it was just kind of a bumbling mess. So I'll get all these parts cleaned up, and then I'll show the reassembly, and that may help people in the future if they're trying to figure out how to take one apart. They can maybe watch the video backwards. Alright guys, well, I've got everything squeaky clean. We're going to go back together with it. I went ahead and took the spring out of here as well. I've already got the spring back in. I'm not going to show myself fighting with that to get them in there. You can look up other videos. Yeah, I use zip ties, wind it around, get it in there, cut it, and slowly let it unwind. But that's where we're going to start. I'm actually going to use as a lubricant this Stihl Glide. It's just what I have on hand. I'm not going to buy anything. Just going to put a little bit down here where this rides for starters. And what I'm using for a lubricant for the spring itself is just this 3-in-1 garage door lube. So I'll just put a few squirts in here and let it permeate that. Spring. I'm going to go ahead and show most of the steps on what I'm doing here. The end of the spring goes in that little notch right there. Get that down a little bit. This may be helpful for folks in some manner. You know, I kind of counted 2 revolutions as this was unwinding. Something around those lines, and then there were about 4 loops on this rope. I did not take the rope out. It's just the way I roll. And this should be the last little loop here. There we go. It's like butter. Alright, we're moving back in. I'm going to put the paws back in. I've got a little bit of that same lube down in these holes where the paws sit. Put a little bit on top of this washer. Lost one. I thought there may have been a difference. There's not. So those will sit there. I'll put a little dab where they ride across here. And now I've got to get this spring back down right in that area. The way I did that to take it off was I actually saw a guy do it. He grabbed it, I believe, here and here with a pair of snap ring pliers and then put it on. So I'm going to go ahead and try that. Camera's pretty close. Camera's pretty close here, so I may have to get my head over here and show you the end result. Get it started. Okay, now I've got to spread it and get it across this lip and down into the recess where it goes. I got it. Can't believe it. Okay, hopefully you can see how that's sitting in there. So when I pull it, you can see the pawls come out and then they retract back. I'm going to go ahead and put some of the same lube right here on those posts that ride in that spring clip. There we go. Alright guys, well this has got the easy pull start system on it. I'm not too familiar with it, but it was just nasty. So I took it apart, including getting this monster spring out of there. That's going to be fun to fight to get it back in. But these are the basic components for that. It uses two springs coupled with a sprag bearing or a one-way bearing or sprag clutch, however you want to say that. This will rotate in one direction about this shaft, but it will not spin in the opposite direction. It locks up. Word to the wise, if anybody gets in here to clean this and repack these bearings, be careful. Compressed air to dry it out. I blew 5 of those needles out of there, and I cannot believe I found them in my shop. Carefully reinserted them in the bearing. That's going to get just a standard bearing grease in there. I'll pack a little bit in. This washer right here goes right here to protect the casting. This monster will go in here, and then there's some other components we'll address when we get to that point. Alright guys, well it's a good thing I run on pure determination, because if I didn't, that was never going back in there. There's no zip tie in this guy. Leather gloves, start here and start working it around. Once you get it in there so far, after losing more ground than you've gained, you can stick this piece on there and kind of twist it to get the inside to pop in. I still can't feel my thumbs, and it's been about 5 minutes. Anyway, here's the stack up on this. There's a washer here, it's been lubricated. I've packed the bearings with some just standard bearing grease. Lubricated the spring. This will go on here, followed by these 3 screws, followed by this, which will be lubricated on the inside, followed by a washer, followed by a snap ring. Alright guys, I had this squeaky clean yesterday. It's still got the bar chain oil in it. I had it sitting on the floor, and I'm weeping bar chain oil out of this fitting right here. There's just a little O-ring in this side. The hose acts like a grommet, and there's a barb that goes in on that side. I didn't want to buy anything, hunt for an O-ring. I cleaned it up with some lacquer thinner and just put a little bit of this high temp RTV on it. Hopefully that will shut that up. I've got this boot installed here on the block, and this cover, for lack of a better word, that has to go on first or you will not be able to fit it in there. My test fit showed that while I was trying to figure out how to shoot the video. Never fails on these tubes. It's half dead, so I have to poke a hole. But in my handling of this, I didn't realize that the bolts that mounted into the housing here are also the pan bolts. So this is loose, It may be okay to just run with it and put it back together, but since I'm down this far, I might as well clean all this sealer off and reseal it. That's going to be a fun mess since I don't have any way to apply it out the end. So let me get this cleaned up and prepared, and we'll move on. Alright, well, I've got the gasket surfaces cleaned up. The best I could do without an applicator. It will work. I'm going to go ahead and put this on, but I need to make sure that I get this notch right here, which supports the oil pump, to the long shaft. Okay. This is going to just slide in here somehow. Come on. Come on. There it goes. Alright. Now these bolts will get torqued down to 7 foot-pounds or 84 inch-pounds. So I'll get these ran down to the surface and I'll take them up in a crisscross pattern, just going maybe 3 stages of torque, and then we'll move on to the next component. Let's go after the chain brake. I've got this spring set in where it goes, lubricated the spot where it rides on the handle, as well as this linkage. It's going to begin getting unruly with handles going on, but we'll see what we can do. Got to get this lined up just right. Come on. Get down there. There it goes. Man. Alright, we've got this little black spacer that goes on there. And then we've got this linkage that will fit right on here. I think I'm going to put just a little bit of lubrication right there as well. Hook this in, put it over that. And I've got a really small E-clip I've got to get on right here. Try to do this without flinging it across the shop. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit right there on that. Get this hooked on. Looks good. And then we've got a spring that we've got to get on it. I'm just going to put a little lube on there just to help it from squeaking. Alright, that will hook on here. No. Goes this way. Yes. Let's see, one of these. Okay, all the way forward. Now I'm going to try to hook this spring over this post. Jumping around on me here. There we go. Test it. Looks like it's working. This cover will go on. And we'll move on to what's next. Alright, I've got a light film of 3-in-1 on there. Get the flywheel installed. This nut's supposed to be torqued down to 20.6 foot-pounds. I don't have my foot-pound wrench over here, and my inch-pound won't go up that high. So I'm going to go on with my impact driver in all situations like that. we go. Alright, I'm installing the clutch now. It starts with this worm. This is what turns the pump. I've put a little bit of lube on the outside of that. Don't know if it's required, as well as a little bit of lube on the shaft. Get that down where it goes. Looking good. The end of this spring, that tail, actually will ride in this portion right here. So when this goes on, we have to make sure we get that in the right spot. This washer says top, so that must be the way that goes. And then this is left-handed thread, so loosen to tighten. And this is supposed to be torqued down to 37 foot-pounds, but I'm going to hit it with my impact. Alright, well, I've packed this needle bearing here with some grease. Get that installed. Put the clutch on, and like I said, I've got to get it that notch over the ear of that. And I'm at about 12 o'clock. Looks good. And then this little washer goes here, and another E-clip. We'll be finished with this portion. There we go. Alright, get this bar stiffener put back in here. There we go. I don't recall if this holds anything. I'm going to go ahead and just stick it in and be done with that. And then I've got these two chain guides. One goes here and one goes up here. I'm pretty sure I've got to leave that out because there's a plastic plug I have to put in here first and then put that on. So we'll come back for that. Alright, we've got a little bit of wiring to do. This is going to go through that slot and get connected on top of the coil here in a moment. And then we've got these that I've got to fish back behind this. Bend that out of the way, get that in there. This turns the corner and goes up this way. We go ahead and try to get the ground to the block here. It's tight. This snugged up. That's that. Alright. Get the coil in here. And got to sneak behind this as well. Get in there. Trying to keep it propped up so you can see. It's just, like I said, it's getting unruly. This wire is supposed to go underneath that coil. Just kind of winging it here. There we go. Try to turn it so I can see a little better. I really need to get my head over this stuff. Let me turn it over for a minute so I can get these tightened up a little faster. Nothing like watching somebody run screws, right? Alright, I'm going to pull this all the way back and lock it down. Do the same thing here. Go ahead and hook this wire on. Looking good. Yeah. Alright. I'm spinning the magnet around now to right there. I'm using this business card. It's about 20 thousandths. That's what the gap should be. And now I'm going to loosen up these 2 screws here, and it will snap to the flywheel. And then immediately tighten them back up, and that will set the armature gap close enough. A 20 thousandths feeler gauge is too stiff to make this tight radius. I guess you could stack some thinner ones and make it work, but that's the coil. Alright guys, I've tried shooting this clip like 5 times. I keep having to wrestle this thing and get it in odd positions to achieve what I'm trying to do, so I can't shoot it. I'm frustrated now. I'm just going to explain it. I've got the 2 wires coming up through the grommet right here. I've also put on this little tube that goes down to the side of the block and started feeding this up. I've got to get that little tube on right here in front of my thumb and then fish this through that hole, all kind of in one shot in a concert. So let me get this put together and then we'll move on. Alright, that was pretty horrible, but I got it on there. It's hard to get shots on it because it's getting really difficult to maneuver. This rubber boot, I've got to work it down into this hole. I'm not sure how to do that yet, but it's going to be another fight. Alright, I got that installed. Squeeze it, poke around with a screwdriver, it will go in there. I'm putting the handle on it now. I think most of my problem right now with being frustrated is I turn off my air conditioner in my shop when I'm shooting videos, and it's got to be 115, 120 degrees in here right now in only the last 10 or 15 minutes. I'm just going to go around and poke all these screws where there's a hole that accepts them. I believe there's 5. And then we'll see what's next. Alright, got all that buckled up. Last visual inspection here. It's looking good. I'm going to go ahead and put the pull starter on it. I know I've got to fish it up underneath here. There we go. The odd man out is this one with the cup. It goes right here. Alright, I need to install these plugs. I got 3 large, 2 small. The 2 small actually go here and one on the inside. To get these out, you have to just pry them out with a screwdriver or 2. And just pop right in there. So I'll put the last 2 in, but while I'm here, now I need to put this one in. That's the one I was talking about, that I needed to get it in before I put the chain guide on. Put that there. Put that one there, and the final one goes here. Alright, I've got the plug installed. I'm installing the trigger. This spring right here goes into this little notch. It will have a tendency to get out of there, so I've just got to make sure that it is in that notch when I put the handle cover on. I've got the wire hooked up to this, and we're going after the carburetor now. Get this little plate and gasket on. Make sure it's seated in there. I've got to get the tank vent installed right there. This goes on the carburetor just like that. Get this slid on there. Looking good. Hook up the fuel line. Nope, not yet. Get that hose in its little keeper. Go ahead and install this piece. Can I get the hose in? Nope, leave the hose out. I've got to pry up on this spring and get it over this so I can snap it in place. Just like that. Looking good. Now I'll put this fuel line on. Get that out of my way. Come on. There we go. Got that on. Get this put in where it belongs. Right there. Looking good. This goes in the end. Pull the choke up, get that hooked on. I'm going to go ahead and put the throttle on. Just got to go in there and hook where it goes. If I can find the hole. There it goes. Get that snapped in here. There we go. Looking good. Two nuts. Alright, I'm putting the handle cover on it. These hooks have to hook under some tabs up here. Get them started in. My spring is in there. I'm going to pull this down with my thumb and let that fall into there. There we go. There's a screw that comes up in the back of the bottom. I'll do that momentarily. We've got this that goes on just like that. I'm going to be running with the original air cleaner temporarily. I'll get a new one later. That's that. Go full choke. Get the cover on. Go to off. Looking good. Alright guys, I was looking at this filter and I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It looks like it's caked with sawdust, but they show two filters for this particular saw. A foam filter, which this is not, and a flocked filter, which this is. And you can almost see the flocking right up here on the plastic. I can't scrape that off. So this is clean, so I'm just going to run with it. Alright, well I'm installing the muffler. You just got to hook these bolts around there and they'll fall into a slot like that. Got the heat shield, not the heat shield, the cover back on there with the arrestor. There was no gasket on this, so it's not going to get one. I looked at the parts breakdown and it didn't show one there either. Is that the right way around? Yeah. I'll get these nuts on. They're supposed to get torqued to 5.9 foot-pounds or 70.8 inch-pounds. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll take them to 71. Alright, just installing the spikes here. Just two screws. Tighten those up. Alright, well I'm installing everything in this side cover. This just snaps in. Just like so. And then this gear fits right up under there, followed by this cover. and this single screw. Alright, this is the piece that changes the chain tension. It's pretty neat the way it's got a spiral in here, and it changes the length as it turns. Thought that was pretty cool. That just simply sits right here, and one of these holes is threaded, and it gets this screw. This was actually loose when I took the saw apart. May have just rattled loose, but I'll make sure and I get it plenty tight. Now we're ready to install the chain. Alright guys, well I've got the bar and the chain installed. I believe this is the last piece of the puzzle, and we're going to take it out and fire it up. Turn this and get it where I think it should be. Looks good. That's it. Well, alright guys, I decided not to fire the saw up. It was pretty late at night when I finished those last clips. I've been out of town for a few days, so I'm just now getting back at this. It's been sitting, and that sealer I'd put on that little fitting did stop the oil leak. That's a good thing. I did not lubricate the chain when I put it on because I want to ensure that the oiler is oiling the chain properly. But here's what I'm going to do. I've gassed it up. I'm going to go out, since it seemed that this thing is very easy to flood. I'm going to put it on full choke, and I'm going to pull it one time. And then I'm going to go back to run and pull it and see what happens. If it doesn't start on run, I'm going to go full throttle and pull it again. And just kind of play back and forth and see if this thing will fire up. Then I'll let it idle for a few minutes, get up to temperature, and we'll do a warm start test on it. Alright, here we go. One pull, full choke. I'm going to go to the run position, go full throttle. Alright, just going to put it directly into the run position and see if it starts. Well, alright guys, there it is. Seems like it's going to be quite the runner. The chain is oiling, that's good. It's reasonably sharp, but I'll go ahead and touch it up once I find my files. I did not adjust the idle on it or the high and low screws. The chain stays put when it's idling, just like it's supposed to. It's responsive. I just left it where it was, and that's where it's going to be. Starting it seems to be a little bit bizarre the way I did it, but that just may be the temperament of this saw. I'll play around with it over time. Looking good. It's going to be a great tool for my arsenal. Just some general information. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and good luck.